You know, I really wonder sometimes, what is it about us human beings that makes it hard for some of us to verbalize our emotions? Like, we are able to read, write, reason, articulate language, but we have an issue with verbalizing our deepest, most sensitive feelings and emotions and trauma. Like, why is that, right? Like, so greetings, royal family. I want to talk about this recent episode of Iyanla Fix My Life, right? So Lil Karla is a young lady who was born into circumstances beyond her control, as all of us are born into circumstances beyond our control. Um, her mother was 5 months pregnant when she was incarcerated, um, due to, partially, I think, due to the fact that she had a substance abuse problem, crack addicted. Little Carla was born in jail and taken from her mother and placed in the custody of her father. Now, her father's mother, which is Little Carla's grandmother, and her father's sister, which is Little Carla's aunt, aided in raising her along with their father. So she was born in a jail. She never had a relationship with her mother. And her father had previously suffered a trauma of not only losing his wife, but also losing a son that he had with his deceased wife. His son was 16 and he was shot and killed. And it's like, dang, like, how do you learn, or what tools are given to you for you to be able to effectively verbalize all that pain? Like, imagine 22 years old, you lost your wife, you guys had a son together, you lost your son was shot and killed at 16 years old. Or no, that would make sense. His son was six. I think his son. Yeah, he said his son was 16. I don't remember how old the father was at the time when he had that traumatic uh, situation happen. But, and then, after all of that loss, here it is now. You're having another child, and their mother is incarcerated. And Iyanla opened up the episode, and she just like shot straight from the hip and got right to the point. She sat down, father, grandmother, and aunt, and she kind of wanted to get an idea of like what's going on. Little Carla had a reputation of being a troubled child, so she acted out. She stole cars, she stole credit cards, she was defiant. She, was not adhering to any rules that were set down for her, so she was very rebellious. So instead of Iyanla opening the episode with talking with Little Carla, she opened the episode with addressing the village, as she likes to call it. And I do too. That's what I call my immediate family, my village. But anyway, and they were all sitting there, dad, grandma, and auntie were sitting there, and they had all of this stuff to say about Little Carla's behavior and how they were victims of her behavior. And Iyanla saw right through that. She started talking to the father who gave his story. Then she started talking to the grandmother, and it's like she could sense like, nah, this is not, it's not right. I'm not going to talk to the fruit of the tree and not address the root. Come to find out, grandma was not only addicted to crack, but she also sold drugs out of her house. She worked, took care of her children, and she also sold drugs out of her house. So her son, which is Little Carla's father, grew up seeing his mother addicted to drugs and also selling drugs outside of their home. So Iyanla makes the connection by stating, no wonder why you were addicted to someone. Attracted to someone who was a drug addict, which was Lil Karla's mother. And she just glazed right through it. Like, this episode, it's an hour long, right? All of her episodes are an hour long, but this episode went by so quick, and it just shows how good Iyanla is at detecting and sniffing out when something isn't clean, something isn't making sense. Because the village, dad, grandma, and auntie gave off this impression as though, their hands are tied. They don't know what to do with this rebellious child. And I guess they must have thought that they were going to get away scot-free and their issues were not going to be addressed, The aunt wasn't really talking too much, but she kind of had this air of judgment. You know what I mean? She didn't say much, at all. And then Iyanla talks to Lil Karla, who the first thing she says to Iyanla is, I don't know why I'm alive. I don't know why I'm alive. She admitted to cutting herself, which is something that individuals do to kind of release the pressure or release the pain and trauma of what they're going to. Like that, when people cut themselves, they feel like a instant gratification, because it's a release of all the build-up tension and animosity and pain and trauma, etc., etc. And Lil Karla's father, grandmother, and aunt didn't even know that she was cutting herself. So Iyanla's talking to her, and she just basically asked her, about herself. She's the manager of a Chipotle, and Iyanla asked her, do you kind of like kick off while you're at work? And Lil Karla said no. She said, because that's a professional environment, which, let me pause. Sometimes people know what they're doing, and sometimes people know what they're doing, but don't realize the effect that it may have on other people. This was clearly a classic case of a cry for help. This little girl, yes, she had her grandmother and her aunt, and she had her dad, but she did not have her mom. And who knows if they even sat her down and explained to her the situation in which she was birthed into. Who knows? So, yeah, she seems like a very sweet girl. And I feel like she felt comfortable with Iyanla because she felt like she could speak to her. So Iyanla was very comforting. And Iyanla brought that information back to the family members and told them, do you know that she cuts herself? The father immediately was like, she does what? The grandmother didn't really have much to say. The father didn't have much to say, and the aunt didn't have much to say either. So Iyanla was able to get father and daughter to sit down and have a conversation in which they were both very willing to express certain things, and I think that's why this was a little bit of a seamless process for Iyanla, because they're willing, which is great. Anytime you're seeking help, it's always good for you to be willing to do the work, which is what Iyanla says all the time. Like, you have to be willing to do the work. And there are some things that are going to come up that are going to be uncomfortable. There's some things that are going to come up that are really going to strike a nerve and kind of set you back. But it has to be brought up in order for it to be healed. So father and daughter are sitting down talking, and, father is expressing to his daughter that, he did the best that he could, and how he, had difficult times combing her hair. They made light of the situation. He's just kind of reminiscing of all of the things that he has come through as far as raising his daughter. And he's admitted that he felt like he failed her, to which daughter says, Lil Karla says, you didn't fail me, Dad. And, she got emotional seeing her dad cry, and she stated to him, there was an incident with a piggy bank. It appears, that the father's wife accused Lil Karla of stealing money out of somebody's piggy bank. And she had information that she didn't do it, and she stated who told her, and she stated that, I didn't do it. And I think that your wife basically wanted to do that to kind of drive a wedge between the two of us, because she doesn't want you to have a relationship with me. And then she also admitted, which she admitted to Iyanla, she admitted to her father that, you've always had women, dated different women, and it seemed like you put those women before me. And it seemed that he didn't realize that this is what he was doing. It seems like he was just basically looking for comfort, because remember, he had suffered traumatic loss himself. He lost his wife during a C-section process that went wrong, and then years later he lost his son. You know what I mean? So he probably just feels like he doesn't want to be alone, and he has to have companionship in order to feel whole. But the conversation between daughter and father went very well, and they hugged each other, and they told each other that they loved each other. And yeah, I just feel like there was a lot of honesty because they were both willing, and Iyanla just made a very good point that, the daughter was saying that, you guys are always bringing up my past and, reminding me of my past over and over again, which can beat her down. Sometimes people don't want to be reminded of the mistakes that they make. However, I will say this, realistically, if you display a pattern of behavior, it's going to make it difficult for people to trust you. And it's going to make it difficult for people to trust you. You know what I mean? If you're constantly lying and stealing. And I understand the circumstances to which she decided to act out. I get it. But still, as an adult, you still are going to have to be held accountable for those actions. So, and no one was playing the blame game. I feel like the grandmother, she apologized. She felt like she should have been there for her more. And daughter did apologize to grandma. She apologized to dad. She apologized to her aunt for stealing her car, for stealing her credit cards, for putting her through all this trauma. And, Iyanla had to explain to her, you have to take accountability for your actions. And we see that, they do the follow-up and they do an update that they're taking it one day at a time. And toward the end, you see the father have like such a smile on his face, such a huge relief. And Iyanla acknowledged that. And I love the fact that she noticed that, she's very attentive to and intuitive. She pays very close attention to things. And the father, that was the first time he smiled in the entire episode. So I feel like the reason why this was seamless and quick, and this was something easy for Iyanla to kind of like jump on and kind of delegate what needs to be done as far as the village is concerned, and as far as the daughter, is because everybody was willing. No one was combative. Iyanla did call out, grandma, you know what I mean, in a polite way, and grandma didn't try to hide anything. I think that if grandma could have gotten away with not talking about her drug addiction and her selling drugs, she would have. But she had to be called to the carpet. And I feel like the fact that they were really willing, you can tell that they really just wanted things to be mended. They wanted to heal. And the father, he was carrying a tremendous burden, and who knows what he was doing to basically like deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, so I really like this episode. Like I said, it went by real fast, like real fast. And of course, Iyanla does it again. She could have done this with her eyes closed, and everyone was willing. No one was combative. Everyone was willing to own their stuff. Everyone was willing to do the work. No one was making excuses. And I hope that going forward, Lil Karla can acknowledge that even though your cry for help and your behaviors were a result of the trauma that you were born into, you're going to be growing into an adult. I don't know how old she was, but you're going to be an adult, and you are going to have to be accountable for your actions. So if you can conduct yourself in a positive, light while you're at work, you can definitely do the same thing outside of work, and it's to your benefit. So this was a good episode, Royal Family. I mean, it was just a sad situation, man, to see people going through so much, and on the outside people can look so poised and well put together, and all hell is breaking loose behind closed doors and on the inside. So I really admire this family for taking the initiative to reach out to get help and to learn how to do things differently. There wasn't any shouting. There wasn't any back and forth. There wasn't any resistance. They were very receptive to the tools that Iyanla was willing to give them, and also to the constructive criticism that Iyanla was willing to give them as well. So they were very receptive, and I think that makes for some positive progress. And I feel like if they continue to talk, to continue to have the conversation, I don't foresee them, going backwards. You know what I mean? No one's perfect and things don't change overnight, but they have the tools and they feel comfortable expressing themselves. But the question that I posed in the beginning is like, dang, like, we are an intelligent species, human beings, right? And we have the ability to reason, and that's kind of what separates us from animals. Animals don't have the ability to like reason and use rationale. They just operate off of instinct, most of them, right? But why is it so hard for us to articulate our trauma and our pain? Like, why is it that sometimes we're so quick to not take a look inside of what it is that we do, but we're so quick to, well, this person did this, well, she's this, she's that, she's this, she's that. Because I find it hard to believe that Lil Karla acting out, when Lil Karla was acting out all these years, they said she got kicked out of preschool. So this has been going on for years. No one said to themselves, what is it that I'm doing? What is it? Like, no one was able to recognize the trauma that surrounded this child's existence. Like, I'm not judging them. I'm just saying, like, why is it sometimes that we're so afraid to acknowledge the part that we play in dysfunction in our lives, and we're so quick to blame or put it off on someone else, or we're just so willing to kind of like close the door to the things that we've done in the past and not recognize generational curses. Like, why is that? And we have the ability to do so. You know what I mean? Could it just be like lack of knowledge, lack of education? We just don't know how, or that's not something that's promoted within our culture. Like, it's not promoted that you talk about your feelings and you put things out on the table unless you reach your boiling point, you're pissed off, and then you black out. Like, let me know what you think, Royal Family. So this was another good episode of Fix My Life. I'm really happy that they made some progress, and I hope that they continue to make progress. So be sure to thumbs up this video. Leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts were, if you saw the episode, or if you just want to answer the question as far as, the question that I posed in the beginning, as well as a few seconds ago. So, Royal Family, I'm signing off. I love you for watching. Until next time, peace.